Hi everyone. I know I'm not on my normal scheduled time, but I do have a Sunday school Christmas party to get to tonight, and I wasn't going to do it at all, but since I missed last week, I didn't want to, skip again and have people think I quit. So I'm not totally prepared. I do have something on my mind. So I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. That's why we took that break last week. And speaking of Thanksgiving, I am grateful for, I think I've been on here now for 8 or 9 months, and I am grateful for all the people that are following and look forward to seeing these videos. And I have a lot of people who ask, if they've missed one. And so it's good to know that there are people that really do look forward to these. So anyway, I got to thinking about holidays and this weather. Winter weather is crazy makes a lot of people depressed. You want to stay inside and in blankets, and, you don't want to go out and socialize, and it's darker sooner. And so I know a lot of people have like winter seasonal depression, and then the holidays always happen, during that. And for a lot of people, they are lonely at holidays, and it's a hard time of year. So I got to thinking about that, and I thought about, Christ, if he was ever lonely. And, I started doing and I've told you guys about an app called Substack, and it's basically writings that anybody can write whatever they're thinking or feeling. And you can choose, it's kind of like, Facebook, you can choose to follow your interest, but my interests happen to be, Bible related. So anyway, when I was looking up some stories and stuff regarding seasonal, loneliness and that kind of thing, I was looking up specifically about Jesus, and I found one, and I loved how it was written, and I want to share that with you guys tonight. And just remember, we're not the only ones that's ever been alone, and holidays might be hard for some people. So if you're fortunate enough that you don't feel the loneliness, then, maybe you reach out and try to take a little more comfort with someone who might. There's widows and elderly, and, even just people who are single. It's a hard time. So try to be considerate of that this season. And so I want to read, it's called The Loneliness of Christ, and it's written by Tyler Allen. And there's several things that really hit home here. So it says, the question is, could you not watch me for 1 hour? And of course, this is talking about, in the garden at Gethsemane, and right before Christ, was taken to be beaten and scourged. So anyway, it says, could you not watch me for 1 hour? The question breaks out of him, not rhetorical or calm, but cracked with disbelief. It is the voice of someone who has loved deeply and is now alone. Around him, the night breathes. Insects hum in the olive branches, unaware that their creator kneels beneath them. Somewhere an owl cries and another answers, and the sound startles him. Even the creatures are paired, but he is not. He looks back toward the faint glow of the fire where his friends lie sleeping, their faces turned away. The silence between them feels alive, moving through the trees like a slow tide. The wind stirs, shaking the leaves, whispering against his skin. He presses his palms into the dirt, and he feels the soil tremble beneath his hands, the same soil that he once formed into Adam. Now it feels foreign and cold, resistant. Creation itself recoils from the pain of its maker. He tries to speak, but his throat closes. The fear is physical. His pulse quickens. His vision blurs. His body begins to shake. Scripture says that sweat became like drops of blood bursting through the skin. No scourge, no thorn, no spear, only the weight of dread pressing down until his body breaks. He looks again toward the sleeping men. Their stillness feels like betrayal. He had fed them, forgiven them, washed their feet, called them friends. And now, when he asks only for their presence, they sleep. Love calls in the dark, and there's no answer. He turns his face upward, toward the heavens that seem so close, yet impossibly far. The stars he hung burn above him, cold and silent. He whispers almost to himself, Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. No answer, only the hum of insects and distant flutter of wings. And so he stays there, terrified, human, divine, waiting for the silence to become salvation. When Judas approaches, Jesus does not resist. He lets the kiss land. When Peter denies him, he does not look away. When the soldiers mock him, he gives them his silence. The loneliness of Christ is not simply being left behind. It is carrying the full weight of human indifference and refusing to let it make him bitter. He is deserted by his friends, stripped by his captors, and even heaven closes its mouth. My God, why have you forsaken me? It is the most terrifying line in Scripture, not because God is gone, but because love is speaking from within the absence. The cry is not a loss of faith. It is faith stripped bare, faith without feeling, faith that bleeds. And here lies the mystery that ruins and remakes us. God did not come to remove loneliness. He came to fill it. The loneliness of Christ is not an accident of his passion. It is the revelation of his heart. He entered our desolation so completely that there is now no emptiness he has not touched, no silence he has not inhabited, and no isolation he has not made holy. When you feel abandoned, when you whisper prayers that go unanswered, you are not outside of him. You are inside his night. The loneliness you curse may be the very place where he waits. In Gethsemane, he prayed alone so that no one would ever be truly alone again. But the cost of that mercy was everything. The divine loneliness did not end in the garden. It stretched to the cross. There his body nailed between heaven and earth, belonging to neither. He looked for the Father and saw darkness. He looked for his friends and saw fear. Love hung suspended between two silences, pierced and mocked, and still refusing to stop. The loneliness of Christ, love so absolute that it will not protect itself. Love that lets itself be humiliated, betrayed, abandoned, and still forgives. Love that bleeds until the world is exhausted of its hatred and nothing is left to throw. And even then, he stays. Yeah, there's a little bit more, but that's really the gist of what I wanted to talk about. I wanted you to know that, there's nowhere that you're going to be that Christ hasn't already been. And there's nowhere that you're going to go that he won't be there ahead of you. So hopefully that's a little bit of encouragement to get you through these dark, dreary, cold days and, the seasonal depression that people suffer. So I didn't have a whole lot tonight, but I really, really wanted to share that. And I will see you guys back here next week. Have a good evening. Bye.